Okay, so it's time to introduce our headliner for tonight, the one and only Harry Baker. Harry is the youngest ever Poetry World Slam champion. He's amassed audiences all over the place, TED Talks to rap battles to Edinburgh Fringe, and he's a much celebrated and greatly respected wordsmith, and you're about to find out why. His first collection of poems, The Sunshine Kid, was published by Burning Eye, and as far as I know, he's currently working on his second collection, or is the second collection ready? The second one's out, but I'm sure he'll tell you all about that. We're thrilled to have him here, adding a touch of poetry magic to our evening. Please give a warm welcome to Harry Baker.
Thank you so much. Everyone all right? Very happy to be here. Loving all of the slammers. So I'm just going to get on with my poems. This first one is about wellies. I love wellies. That is a statement of fact. Footwear designed for making a splash. No need for showing off status or cash. No laces or faff. Just, I like big boots and I cannot lie, these babies got back. On first glance, as basic as paying your tax, yet that's still more outrageous than Bezos can hack. They are sensible, functional, playful and fab. Put them up against tennis shoes, it's game, set and match. They just do what they do. They're not concerned with self-importance. All soul and no tongue. The opposite of Piers Morgan. They are built for the outdoors. The opposite of Piers Morgan. They're not about to fall apart at any given moment. From farmers through to festivals, so grand is their appeal. The only footwear guaranteed to be outstanding in its field. Veteran shoemakers may disagree. I think it's worth a mention. It's just a load of old cobblers, so pay them no attention. You could be winging it or wanging it. The welly is the one. If you've got booties on your footies, chances are you're having fun, because any welly-based activity is celebrating life. You don't want wellies to a funeral, though I might ask you to for mine. They are a statement piece. That statement is, I don't want soggy feet. And beyond that, they can be anything that you want them to be. So to my godson, who's got some all covered in dinosaurs, or my niece who underneath her knees has nothing but unicorns. As you grow older and the world begins to open up to you, you might expect that it's reflected in your choice of welly boot. Well, for the ladies who are maybe looking for a fun design, I have seen bumblebees or daisies or some multicolored stripes. And for the fellas, if you want to make your mark upon the scene, the options are a fetching black or an incredibly dark green. Because what could be more masculine than blending in with dirt? Like if you don't see me, you might not see I'm filled with pain and hurt. And if you don't conform to gender norms or simply try to ignore them, if you're anything above size 6, you're destined to be boring. Because if they're just going to get muddy, what is the point of even trying? Why have dreams when just like us, they're only going to end up dying? If you never dip your toe in, there is no concern with drying. Who needs waterproofs if you can simply stop yourself from crying? I mean, God forbid that one might have a form of self-expression. Why not blend in instead with 1 in 8 that have depression? Why be happy when you could be a statistic or a lesson? Why do anything ever if it starts to make you question? If we protect ourselves from all those risky things emotions do, it can be easy to forget that joy is an emotion too. And so is grief, and so is heartbreak, so is happiness and rage, with this whole spectrum that we miss out on if we don't engage. And I am angry. And I've tried very hard to hold it in. And I am lonely. And I've tried very hard to hold it in, and I am tired. And I've tried very hard to hold it in. But we are not wellies made with an impermeable skin. You see, it did not do me good. Stood in a field of deepest green. When it's a basic human need to simply feel like you've been seen. And so even if this world insists it's safer to be duller, I would rather take the risk and live life playfully in color. Sure enough. Last Christmas morning, wrapped up underneath the tree, a pair of size 10 welly boots as bright and yellow as can be. They bring a whole new meaning to saving up for a rainy day, because if the skies are grey, I'll be walking on sunshine either way. And when it's messy and it's muddy and I don't know where to begin. I still rather be out in the rain than trying to rein it in. And if I ever go on Dragon's Den, this poem is my pitch. But until then, next time you'll see me as I'm climbing out that ditch. Thank you. Thank you so much. I did a tour in sort of 2022, 2023, and that poem felt like the sort of most raw, vulnerable poem of that tour. And I'm putting a new tour together, and that poem is now sort of the fun, uplifting one. So that gives you an idea of the emotional journey I've taken on since. And on that note, this next poem is about death, but it is based on the fact that in September last year, I went to 2 funerals of different grandparents, and I was thinking a lot about death, and as many a poet, I made it all about me and thought about what's going to happen when I die. And so this is what I came up with. Ideally, I would like 100 benches, every single one of them facing the sea. But if that's too much faff, I'd settle for the one somewhere in Margate, somewhere you can come and sit and think and be. And I don't need a fancy pot to keep my ashes. Just find a decent spot where there's a breeze. So the next time someone gasps at all the wonder in the world, a part of them is breathing in a part of me. And at my funeral, I'd like there to be sunflowers, a truly inconvenient amount. For I too will have spent a lifetime searching for the light, and I don't see a reason why that should stop now. Where what you want, if it were me, I'd go for trainers or wellies. Something comfortable and colourful to match. For as it was foretold by the prophet Jamie Tart, dress shoes are for muggles and for twats. For the reading, I like Erin's poem about final moments. Maybe this poem should be read for context too. And for the music, nothing short of a full-throated sing-along of my favourite song, Dynamite by Teo Cruz. For the food, just keep it veggie. For the drink, serve up Negronis. If I pretend to like them, you can do the same. And for the wake, if people want to chat, then I am all for that. But just in case, make sure a corner's stacked with games. And don't let anyone apologize for crying. It's honestly my favorite thing to do. Just make sure everybody knows how much I've loved being alive. The only thing that I love more was loving you. And on that note, if you are free, then I would love for you to be there. But if you can't, because you're dead, that's not your fault. To be honest, neither of us quite makes sense without the other. I still think we'll die together like a cult. And if anybody says I have gone to a better place, that is a kind and very well-intentioned lie. For there can be no better place than in a room with all my friends. Just promise we'll do this again the other side. And by the time it comes around, maybe I'd hate it. I'll live for ages and these tastes will change with time. But one thing that I know that I will always find amazing is what a thing it is to live a life. P.S. Let's also do this loads before we die. Thank you so much. I've got a new one if you're up for me trying it. Wonderful news. It was my anniversary last week and I wrote this and I've not performed it to more than one person. And so I thought, what better opportunity to do that than at a sort of National Slam heat that's being filmed and put on the internet. So I looked it up. I've been married for 6 years and apparently that it means sugar is the anniversary. So in that note, I've written a poem that is so sweet that it's probably bad for you. Your love is old t-shirts and songs I know the words to. As soon as I am with you, I feel safe. You help me try to be the greatest version of myself. I plan to spend this lifetime doing just the same. It's like the floor is lava, how you set my soul on fire. You are sourdough and canal boat, you're all I need and more. Like my reusable water bottle, I am lost without you. Like sticky toffee pudding, you are delicious and warm. the furrow of your brow when you are reading, the nuzzle of your nose into my neck, the way your eyes light up when you eat chocolate. Everything about you is the best. You are my favorite place to cry. You are my favorite place to nap. Our love is a supply teacher. It can take many forms. You're very understanding when I dribble on your lap. Like sticky toffee pudding, you are warm. When I curl up in a ball and cannot function, you somehow know exactly what to do. When all I see is disaster at every junction, you always find a way to pull me through. Like sunflowers at funerals, you brighten up my mornings. Just like the letter Y, I want to end each day with you. Despite the fact you flinch when I am driving, I'm pretty sure deep down you trust me too. And now everything's about to change forever. But then again, everything always is. Was it not everything changing that meant we ended up together? Whatever's next, I know we'll never not have this. And when it's all up in the air, we will learn to fall with style. And when everything's at sea, I will be with you in that storm. And we are coming into land. Just let me hold you for a while. Like sticky toffee pudding, you are warm. Thanks. Okay, and then this poem is a list of outtakes that I didn't feel I could put in the last poem, but I am secretly proud of, but not proud of enough to put in a poem without giving a heavy caveat that they are outtakes. I'm excited for this mainly because I don't think I will ever perform this part again, but that is ultimately up to how you respond to it. Your ass is like Joe Biden. He just refuses to quit. You know what I mean? It's a different tone. Like when Starmer looks at Corbyn, I'm scared of being left by you. Sometimes this love can be unbearable, like you when you are tired. Like a holy sleep in church, you are the thing that gets me through. Like my medically diagnosed fat ankles. By this point, I cannot picture life without you. Like a rugby player's existential crisis, I'm not sure I even want to try. Like a rock climbing enthusiast, you help me to feel bolder. Like the fact Tom Cruise is 61, you're always on my mind. In front of you is the one time that I feel sexy, except that summer when I ran loads and got really fit and tanned. Then I did a rap battle and they said I looked like I was on heroin. And yet somehow you still managed to pull it back. And when a well-meaning Australian dentist slid into my Instagram DMs and said she's enjoying the videos, but on closer inspection is worried I might have gum disease, you even made me feel good after that. The murmur as you start to fall asleep mid-conversation, although I know you have dropped off because you don't laugh at my jokes. The fact that right now you are thinking that can't be the explanation, because when you are awake, you also don't laugh at my jokes. When you don't know what you want or who you are or what to do, I know exactly what I want, and that's to spend my days with you. And I know this poem will not be your favourite. That honour is reserved for Bond James Bond. You may well think these lofty heights will never be eclipsed. Here's to a lifetime trying to prove you wrong. So this next one is my wife's favourite poem that I've ever written. The name's Bond James Bond. Bond is both my last and my first name. For some reason, when I introduce myself to people, they think I'm repeating my surname. But if that were the case, then I would have to say, the name's Bond, Bond James Bond. I used to introduce myself to people as Bond Bond. Then they would mishear and repeat back to me, Bon Bon. And I would say, no thanks, I'm sweet enough. And they wouldn't get it. Then I'd have to explain that it's a bit like Neville Neville. Then I'd have to explain that that was Gary Neville's dad. Then I'd have to explain that that was Phil Neville's brother. And I'd have to explain who Phil Neville was. He's a footballer that looks a bit like the famous poet Harry Baker. I thought I might make things easier to start using my middle name, to see if I could separate the two Bonds with a James. But now I wish I'd paid attention in my A-level chemistry, because it turns out separating bonds requires a lot of energy. I guess it could be worse. It reminds me of the time I ordered a martini and, whilst making small talk, mentioned that my friend Shane cannot stir. Thank you so much. I've got one more poem I'd love to finish on. I have got some books with me. They're at the back. They've got other poems as well as the James Bond one, just in case that's not your favourite. And the book is called Unashamed, and it's named after this poem. But I just want to say a massive thanks to the team for putting this on, for having me. Can we give a massive round of applause for the organisers? I would say a special thanks to having me at this particular heat, because of this list of wonderful cities, Manchester is the one that is furthest from my home. But also I have friends here that I always look for an excuse to visit. So it is a wonderful city. I'm happy to be here. I'm putting together a tour from sort of May through July, and I'm going to come back at some point when I find a venue. So please do come along to that, all of you. Thanks. And this last poem is called Unashamed, and it came out of a poem from a conversation with a friend who said he felt like he had to edit himself based on other people's expectations. And that's something I've thought about a lot. And I used to worry about fitting in, and these days I'm far more excited about filling out and being the best, most brilliant, bold versions of ourselves that we can be. And I think the way to do that is to surround yourself with people who will lift you up rather than put you down. And when I see rooms like today and hear these people coming up and sharing such brave parts of themselves and being held up in that way, it just gives me so much life and hope and warmth. So thank you for having me as part of it. The poem goes like this. It's not your job to make sure others feel more comfortable. You need not dull your glow and the hope they might see. You need not water down your core to be more palatable. May you be the you that you need you to be, unashamed. We cannot help how others see us, though we may well try our hardest. How we see ourselves can free ourselves to be ourselves regardless. Home is where you can be open-hearted. Whether trapped or trapeze artist, all comes down to how we're harnessed. I'm trying to free my roots. Like playing past the parcel, packed with parsnips when the music stops and no one's watching. Will you keep on dancing? Let us decorate and garnish any reputations tarnished, because despite it's all, I still fancy our chances. Let us not file away our edges in an effort to be smooth. When the records show the dents of how we get into that groove, all that energy invested in the editing of you, I hope one day you'll let it loose and let me be there when you do. Because in the moment when your guard slipped for a second or two, I could have sworn I caught a glimpse and I saw heaven in you. Unashamed. Unless you're Senator or Garner, there's no point adopting layers when the heart of you is the part of you that's blazing. And others may have tried to hide your light. You may have joined in this yourself. But joy of joys, the joy of joys, it shall not be overwhelmed. You could be static, or your static could cause lightning storms. Whether it's lions or it's iron ore, your core contains all types of raw, that friction that you feel, that's an igniting force. So light the torch. If we can't see it in ourselves, then what is brightness for? We do those closest to us a disservice if we only ever let them see the small of us. If we can open up enough to let them get beneath the surface, there's so much more to love. If we can show them all of us, the flaws in us, the force of us, the full-on awe of us, the rise and fall of us, the wise and fall in us, just all of us, the fine and coarse of us, the fine print in the claws of us, the fire imprinted in our blood cells as they course in us, is all in us. So call it what you want, there's something calling us. And I've caught enough of you to know that you're enough. Any boxes they may try and stop you with, instead of building up a fort, let's make a rocket ship. Treat them as photos, not negatives developed into positives, but nothing more than simply a snapshot of things, because all the best bits of your story are still yet to be unfurled. You are the caterpillar that becomes the butterfly that flaps its wings to cause an earthquake half around the world. You are amazing. And if they try to rain on your parade, let it remind you how much fun it is to party while it's raining. May you take up space and stay there, unashamed. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'll be at the back if you want to grab a book or come say hi. I would love that. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your night and your lives, and I'll catch you soon. Cheers.
Make some noise for Harry Baker. If you want to go and follow Harry, he's on Instagram at Harry Baker Poet. So make sure you do and keep